Macklin Celebrini is the projected first overall pick in the 2024 NHL Entry Draft, and he is already creating quite the buzz with his electrifying play. With how much attention and media saturation Connor Bedard has faced in the last 12 months, I debated whether or not I should even make this video about Celebrini, but to this point, he's playing so well that I think we have to take notice. If you already know who Macklin Celebrini is, you'll learn some new details about him and his play. If you aren't familiar with him yet, this video will tell you everything that you need to know about him and then some. Before we get into it, hit that subscribe button down below. Support the channel by dropping a sub and a thumbs up. Helps us out a ton. Macklin Celebrini was born on June 13th, 2006. Yes, your math is right. He is less than 17 and a half years old. But don't let that faze you, because it sure hasn't fazed him so far in his freshman season at Boston University. Celebrini is not only the youngest player in college hockey this season, but you have to go back nearly 30 years to find somebody else who played college hockey this young. Celebrini has lit the league on fire to start his NCAA career, despite his age. At the time of recording this video, he has 18 points in 9 games, tying him for the most in all of college hockey. Those 9 games are actually less than the 10 that have been played by 2 guys he's tied with, third-year players Jack Devine and Massimo Rizzo on a very good Denver team, and less than Rutger McGroarty of Michigan, a sophomore and first-round pick of Winnipeg, who has 18 points in 12 games. In other words, Celebrini has the best points per game in the entire nation. He sits tied for 3rd in the NCAA in goals, and he's 6th in shot per game with a total of 42 through his first 9 games. And a stat that I love from him so far, he's 55% on faceoffs. Very impressive at 17. BU has Celebrini listed at 6 feet tall, 190 pounds, which feels about right, but we'll see what NHL Central Scouting has his official measurements at. Scouting extraordinaire Jason Bukala of Sportsnet states that Celebrini has an NHL-ready shot today, and you definitely aren't going to hear any arguments on that from me. The kid can absolutely rip it, and he loves setting up for one-timers on power plays and parking it somewhere on Longo's own shifts. In case you needed any more proof that he has a good shot, Celebrini, along with fellow 2024 top prospect Cole Eiserman, attended the famous Shattuck St. Mary's for 2 years. During that span, Celebrini recorded 101 goals in 102 games and 157 assists. Eiserman had an insane tenure at Shattuck himself, scoring 97 goals the one year, but we'll talk about him another time. After all, those two are set to be teammates yet again at BU next season and are still very close friends. After his insane campaign at Shattuck, Celebrini joined the Chicago Steel in the USHL for the 2022-2023 season, following in the footsteps of recent top picks Owen Power and Adam Fantilli. Not only did Celebrini impress in the USHL, but he dominated. He led the league with 46 goals and 86 points in 50 regular season games, and was also named to the All-USHL First Team and All-Rookie Team. He also became the first player in league history to win Rookie of the Year, Forward of the Year, and Player of the Year all in the same season. Pat Cullen of NHL Central Scouting said the numbers don't lie with what he's done in Chicago. He's just got elite hockey sense and makes everybody around him better. He's a 200-foot guy, not just all offense. Another guy with some high praise for Celebrini was none other than Blackhawks superstar Connor Bedard, who's laced him up with Celebrini a few times over the years. Bedard said, "Mac is a special player. I'm really excited for him, and there's just so many good things about his game. You can go on forever. Not a bad guy to have pumping your tires ahead of your draft year." One more time, Celebrini's just 17 and a half years old, yet at last year's Under-18 tournament, he was Team Canada's best forward as an underager, racking up 6 goals and 9 assists for 15 points in just 7 games. So now you know his stats, but what else do we know about Macklin Celebrini? He was born and raised in Vancouver, British Columbia, hence the connection to Connor Bedard. Macklin's father, Rick Celebrini, is a former soccer player for the Vancouver 86s and is a very well-known physiotherapist. He's worked with superstar athletes in several sports, would often take his kids to work out with Uncle Steve, who ended up being the legendary Canadian basketball player Steve Nash. He'd let his kids skate with Canucks players when they were rehabbing, such as Ryan Kessler. Rick eventually became the Vancouver Whitecaps physiotherapist in 2011, and then the director of rehabilitation for the Canucks in 2014. Most recently, in 2018, he was hired as the Director of Sports Medicine and Performance for the Golden State Warriors. In other words, Macklin got to hang out with Kevin Durant, Klay Thompson, Steph Curry, and others while they rehabbed injuries and got back to training routines. Macklin's older brother Aiden is a great player in his own right. He was drafted by the Canucks last year in the 6th round of the 2023 NHL Entry Draft. So when it comes to family life, Macklin has been surrounded by the highest performing athletes his entire life. The common talk line around Macklin off the ice is how impressive his work ethic is, which I think we can attribute in part to the pro-athlete environment he was able to soak in from such a young age. Keeping it off ice, the Celebrinis, and Macklin in particular, have called quite a few places home over the last number of years, from growing up in Vancouver to finishing minor hockey in San Jose while his dad worked for the Warriors, to moving to Minnesota for Shattuck St. Mary's, then Chicago for the USHL, and now he's in Boston for college hockey. He's been damn near everywhere. The funny thing with living so many different places is that so many teams are going to be spun as hometown teams or bring Celebrini back to XYZ as we get closer to the upcoming draft. San Jose more so than others, of course, given their spot in the standings today, but Chicago could end up back in the lottery at some point as well. Vancouver, probably too good to end up in the Celebrini sweepstakes, but hey, it's still early. Everybody wants this kid. So what makes him so special as a player? Like I mentioned earlier, his hockey IQ is off the charts. The way he sees the ice, the way he controls zone entries, it's all at an elite level. He can skate and he can shoot just as well as anybody else in the draft class and will without question be able to put up points at the pro level. He's a dominant player and he's nowhere near done developing yet. The trusted Scott Wheeler of the Athletics said Celebrini plays with confidence and presence that is rare for a player his age. He's consistently looking to attack and dictate with the puck. He's also an intelligent off-puck player who understands timing, routes, and how to get open and make himself available when he doesn't have the puck. This is very high praise from Wheeler, and more often than not, that ability away from the puck is what helps a young player succeed when they first transition to the NHL level. They're able to create time, space, and opportunity for themselves instead of waiting for things to end up on their stick or bounce their way like they might have in junior. Stephen Ellis of Daily Faceoff, another favorite of mine, said dynamic, dangerous, and deceptive. Take your buzzword of choice. He's not Connor Bedard, but Celebrini is one hell of a prize for whoever snags the next first overall pick. The one other thing I really like about Celebrini attending Boston University is that he gets to spend every day with head coach Jay Pandolfo. Pandolfo was a 32nd overall pick himself in the NHL, also came through the BU Hockey Factory, and ended up playing 899 career NHL games as a crafty two-way forward. Getting to learn a complete pro 200-foot game from Pandolfo could be gigantic for Celebrini's development. His captain at BU, defenseman Case McCarthy, said he's going to live up to and exceed every single expectation that he has. It truly just seems like pressure doesn't faze him when he's on the ice. So at the end of the day, what can we expect from Macklin Celebrini through the remainder of this season and into the 2024 NHL Entry Draft? The simple answer is more of the same. Night in and night out, he is the most skilled player on the ice. He drives play and makes others around him better, even on a stacked Boston University squad. I, along with a lot of the hockey world, fully expect Macklin Celebrini to be the first overall pick at the 2024 NHL Entry Draft. He has all the makings of a legitimate two-way number one center. He's dynamic, he's a threat to both pass and shoot, and he has the frame, IQ, and work ethic to be a complete player at both ends of the ice. Buy your Macklin Celebrini stock now, because the hype, it's real.